What is going on, guys? Today I will be talking about the top 5 players that the New York Knicks should consider signing in the 2021 NBA buyout market. But before I get into this video, make sure to subscribe if you're new, like this video, and make sure to hit that notification bell button not to miss out on videos like these. So now let's talk about player number 1. So the first player that the Knicks should consider signing from the buyout market is Hassan Whiteside. So as you guys might know, Hassan Whiteside currently plays for the Sacramento Kings. So the Kings have been playing very well as of late because of De'Aaron Fox, and Hassan Whiteside might want to leave anyways because he might want a bigger role and to contend for a team that is for sure knowing that they want to really make the playoffs. And since the Sacramento Kings have a very young, promising center in Richaun Holmes, Whiteside is not in their long-term plans. So for those reasons, Hassan Whiteside might want a bigger role, at least in the near future, which means that if he gets bought out, many contending teams might want his defensive presence, since Hassan Whiteside is an elite shot blocker. And I believe that the Knicks might want Hassan Whiteside because of his defensive presence, as I've stated, and that Mitchell Robinson has been recently injured and he's going to be out for the whole season. And after Mitchell Robinson's foot injury, the Knicks have seemed to be rumored to be very interested in a big man. And Hassan Whiteside plays great defense and can be good in the pick and roll. And since the Knicks really want to make the playoffs this season, I don't believe that Taj Gibson is a great backup for them long term, since he's 35 years old and aging. And currently for the Sacramento Kings, Whiteside is averaging 8 points and 6 rebounds in 15 minutes per game. And he's also averaging 1.5 blocks per game. So Whiteside would have a backup role on the Knicks, and he would definitely help them during the playoffs if the Knicks make it. And he would obviously be nothing more than a rental player for the Knicks for his defensive presence to help them out during the playoffs. So now let's get into player number 2. So the second player that the New York Knicks should sign from the buyout market is Marc Gasol. So this one is an interesting one, since rumors have recently come out that the Lakers are disappointed in their signing of Marc Gasol and feel like it didn't work out as they wanted to. So this may mean that Marc Gasol's days are limited in LA. And this now looks more likely to happen because of the Lakers' recent signing of Andre Drummond. And the Lakers' plan is to play Andre Drummond with the starting center position and play Montrezl Harrell off the bench. So the reason that the Knicks should try to sign Marc Gasol from the buyout market is for the fact that Gasol provides spacing on the court with his pretty good shooting from 3, and he's a great passer, definitely an underrated passer. And since he's 36 years old, he's only going to be a rental for the Knicks, mainly to help them with their playoff hopes. He doesn't play great defense, but his offensive game with his passing and his court vision and his floor spacing is what the Knicks need. So Gasol's role with the Knicks would be a backup center to Nerlens Noel. So Noel would provide the defense with his shot blocking abilities, and Gasol would provide his floor spacing and passing abilities. So now let's talk about player number 3. So the third player that the Knicks should target via the NBA buyout market is Kelly Olynyk. So as I've stated in my previous video, it's probably unlikely that the Rockets will buy out Kelly Olynyk, but it's still a possibility given that the Rockets are rebuilding and they might just want to blow it up and go all young. Olynyk would be a great short-term fit for the Knicks as he provides great floor spacing and defense. Olynyk currently averages 11 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and about a block per game. Olynyk provides something that the Knicks have really been wanting, to have floor spacing, which would open the court, and the Knicks would flow much more smoothly on the offensive side of the court. If I were the Knicks, I would probably even decide to start Kelly Olynyk and give him like 25 minutes per game, and then get Nerlens Noel backing him up with about 23 minutes per game. Olynyk is like a Marc Gasol, but just younger and plays much more better defense. This addition would definitely help the Knicks out in the playoffs and would even make them a competitive team in the first round. So the Knicks' potential starting 5 after the addition of Kelly Olynyk could be Derrick Rose at the point guard position. At the shooting guard position would most likely be RJ Barrett. At the small forward position would be Reggie Bullock. At the power forward position would be Julius Randle, and at the center position would be Kelly Olynyk. And their bench could be Elfrid Payton, Emmanuel Quickley, Alec Burks, Obi Toppin, and Nerlens Noel. And I feel like with this addition, they would have a more balanced out roster with offense and defense. So now let's talk about player number 4. So the fourth player that the New York Knicks should consider signing from the buyout market is Mike Muscala. So it seems more and more likely that the Thunder will buy out Mike Muscala, with the recent play of Moses Brown and the newly acquired Tony Bradley. Muscala does not fit the Thunder's long-term plans as they're rebuilding clearly and they're going young. Muscala is a player needed for contending teams given his great shooting ability. He's not a great defender, but he's definitely a great floor spacer and a great shooter. He would be a backup option for the Knicks if Kelly Olynyk and Marc Gasol are unable to land in New York. Muscala is currently averaging 10 points per game, 4 rebounds, and is shooting 37% from 3 and is shooting 92% from the free throw line. His role with the Knicks would be a 20-minute per game backup center that would help the Knicks bench with offensive scoring. And also, Mike Muscala and Nerlens Noel have chemistry to play together because they did play together last season on the Oklahoma City Thunder. So now let's hop into the final player, player number 5. So the last player that the Knicks should consider signing from the buyout market is Otto Porter Jr. So Otto Porter Jr. is now currently on the Orlando Magic from the Nikola Vucevic trade that would send Vucevic to the Bulls and Wendell Carter Jr. with Otto Porter Jr. to the Magic, as well as 2 first-round picks. And the Orlando Magic are looking like they're going towards a rebuild, which might indicate that Otto Porter Jr. could be on his way out of the Orlando Magic if he requests a buyout and to play for a contender. And if that happens, I think that the Knicks should be in a strong position to land Porter Jr. since they can offer him a starting spot and a bunch of minutes to play for their contending team. The reason he'd be starting with the Knicks is that he's definitely an upgrade over Reggie Bullock, and I think that Bullock is better off the bench than from starting. So the reason that the Knicks should be in a strong position to get Otto Porter Jr. is because they'll be able to give him and offer him much more minutes than any other contending championship team, and the Knicks would be able to give him a starting position. So Porter Jr. is currently averaging 10 points, about 5.5 rebounds, 2 assists, while shooting 40% from 3 and 85% from the free throw line. And Porter Jr. will probably be the best candidate off the buyout market to get currently, given his 3-and-D wing potential. And Porter Jr. is still only 27 years old, so he could definitely be in the Knicks' long-term plans, either to remain a starter or to be a great bench piece. So this addition would be huge for the Knicks, short-term and long-term. So guys, let me know which buyout candidate the Knicks should target, and comment if you agree or disagree with any of these players that can potentially sign with the Knicks from the buyout market. And as always, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. It was KNYT here, and I'm out. Peace.